On this special off-season episode of Talking Bear Football, Matt and Steven talk through some of the off-season news, including some 2020 postseason awards, changes to the 2021 season, and the just-released classifications and districts. Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Talking Bear Football podcast.
Right here on westbranchfootball.com.
Nice job, Steven. I was hoping you'd take that.
For one, it's been a while because, it's been how many months since we've had football, and two, I don't normally say that. I'm normally just along for the ride, so I feel important.
The one thing I will state, though, is that it's westbranch.football.
Oh, I forgot that we changed it.
Yeah. I mean, westbranchfootball.com still works.
It still works, but westbranch.football.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of cool.
I'll remember that for the outro.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, you get one more chance to redeem yourself. So no Jason Miller today. He has some other things going on this weekend, so was unable to join us. So it's just me, Matt Chinander, and voice of the Bears, Steven Grace. And like Steven alluded to, this is... it's been a few months since we've had an episode here. We last had an episode just following the Bears' playoff loss to Minneapolis back in October. But yeah, quite a bit has happened since then, just in terms of postseason awards and people committing to college and coaching staff changes and schedule changes and districts announced and all that kind of stuff. So we're going to go through and talk through some of that today. But first, before we do that, Steven, what have you been doing in the off season so far?
Staying away from everybody.
No,
I mean, typical off season for me, a little atypical, because normally as soon as football gets done, I've already got the wrestling season rolling into full gear, and obviously not starting until after the first of the year. My November and December were a little more open, but otherwise just working at the ice cream shop and then getting ready for that. And now I'm right in that week in between where we just had Big Ten wrestling last week, where I got to drive out to Pennsylvania and do that. And I'm getting ready later this week. We'll be driving down to St. Louis for the NCAA championships. So hopefully the Hawks can get it done. We got the Big Ten title. Now let's see if we can get the NCAA title as well and roll on.
It's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan.
That's right.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's dive into things. So before we talk about kind of the bigger news where districts were released just this past week by the Iowa High School Athletic Association, let's dive into just a couple things that have happened here in the off season.
Which to me, I think is some pretty big news, because some well-deserved accolades and information for some of these kids that have put so much time into this West Branch program.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I didn't mean to disparage what we're going to talk about here. Just some things that have happened here in the past few months. Really, the first thing that we want to touch on is a lot of Bears, I think like 13 or something, have made the Class 1A District 5 All-District team. So that's a great honor there. I'll go through them here real quick. The most valuable players in the district: Jeff Bowie at defensive front, Cale Federlin at kicker, Gavin Hirschman for offensive utility. First teamers were Cole Bailey, Drake Berry, Jeff Bowie, Cale Federlin, Andy Henson, and Gavin Hirschman. Second team, Carver Belk, Peyton Miller. Honorable mentions: Kinnick Belk, Jack Buell, Simon Palmer, and Trey Schutte. And then the Golden Award was awarded to Cale Sexton. And the Golden Award, is not immediately obvious what that means, but it's awarded to a player who got hurt and was out for a good portion of the season. But the coaches and coaching staff within the district felt that their play was on track to receive one of the team selections. So congrats to Caleb there. I know that was a tough season for him because he loves being, as you and I know, Stephen, he loves being out there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's good to him to at least, obviously get some recognition for his passion and the way that he played when he was on the field.
Yeah. And I mean, all district honors, that's one of those that I think sometimes we can maybe be a little spoiled because we've had so much success that we kind of take that for granted, but that's a big deal. I mean, that's something that the coaches get together, they talk about it. So it's not just somebody looking at your stats or looking at, headlines from a newspaper saying, "Oh, well, this guy threw the ball a bunch or this guy ran the ball a bunch." That's the coaches saying, "Wow, when we were watching this team play, that guy looked good. He's a football player. There's a reason that they have some success." So, I mean, that's not anything to take lightly because that's getting voted on by the opposing coaches, and the fact that we had 13 guys that were recognized, including 3 MVPs, just says a lot about the hard work that all of these players have put in too. So that's congratulations to all of them. That's phenomenal to see that, and hopefully some of those younger guys that are on there can keep that hunger, and guys that maybe didn't get on there, okay, what do I need to do to step my game up so that the coaches recognize me this coming season?
And beyond that, just about a week later, the Iowa Sports Print Writers Association announced their all-state football selections for the 2020 season, and seniors Jeff Bowie and Gavin Hirschman were named to that. So again, 2 big honors there. This is the best players in the state.
Yeah.
So again, that's something that is not taken lightly for sure. So congratulations to those 2.
Yes, definitely.
In addition, the awards just kind of keep coming in. Gavin Hirschman again named to All-State, but this is for academic purposes. And Cale Federline also was named to Academic All-State. So, we talked about these kids being student athletes, student being first. And I know Coach Peterson and the entire coaching staff of all ranks, 7th grade up through high school, within the West Branch community schools, they're preaching the academics too. Because if you don't have that right, you can't play. and the academics part is going to be a lot more important in life further down the line too. So it's extremely important to keep that up. And Gavin Hirschman and Cale Federline were honored for having excellence in that area.
I wish I could remember I want to say that, you have to be a senior and it has to be like at least a 3.0. I want to say maybe even a 3.5 GPA.
I want to say it's a 3.5.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not like, oh, just anybody can get this. I mean, it takes effort. And again, that's that balancing act that, I mean, I look back to 25 years ago when I was in school and I'm like, wow, we would play football and then roll into basketball or wrestling and then roll into track. And, we'd find time to, throw in some schoolwork as well. But these kids are so committed and so involved in so many other things. And I mean, it feels like there's times that, hey, I wanted to go to a girls' basketball game or a volleyball game, and I'd make it to a couple a year because of other things. But it feels like these kids are always there supporting their classmates and still finding time to get the schoolwork done. And it's just, again, one of those big tip of the cap to, these 2, Cale and Gavin, because, it's not easy to do when you're balancing so many different things, and to be able to do it at a high level, both academically and athletically, is just amazing. So congrats to them. Congrats to their families too, because I know that a lot goes into how they were raised, and so congratulations to all of them.
And also Gavin Hirschman and Cale Federline, they're going to continue playing football probably for the next 4 years, hopefully, as they both have committed to play at Central College. So that's big for them. I know both of them had gotten several offers from various schools, and they both decided to stay together and go to Central. So looking forward to them seeing what they can do over the next few years at the college level. I'm excited to keep track of them.
I was joking. Coach Peterson may have to just slide down there because now you got these 2. You got Cheese, Jacob Graves down there, Billy Freese down there as well. Mm-hmm. So strong West Branch flavor over in Pella. So that'll be exciting. South. Yeah, there you go. Southwest.
Yeah. And then one more college committal, and this one just kind of took me by surprise. a player from a few years ago, Luke Lennock. He announced back in December that he'll be enrolling at Coe College and playing football for the Cohawks. So that was kind of a nice surprise
Yeah.
to see that come back and see him keep trying to play. And just from photos I've seen of him, just seems like he's still in excellent shape, and I'm sure he'll do really well. Can't interested to watch him play.
Yeah, I know he was excited right out of high school, heading down to William Penn, and for whatever reason, I mean, sometimes things just don't work out, and it's not anything negative against Luke or against William Penn. It just wasn't a fit, and so thankfully for him, he was able to find something, and I'm wouldn't be surprised. There's a little bit of a West Branch connection there with Shane Staker's brother being the coach at Co. So I'm sure Shane may have done a little recruiting help for his brother on the side, but that'll be exciting. Co's always had a great program. It's a lot of fun, right up in Cedar Rapids, so pretty close for people to go up and see too. So congrats to Luke to get back into it, and excited to see how that shakes out for him.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, as always, we've been, pretty blessed here at West Branch to have the running backs that the train of running backs that we've had for the last, 10 years?
Yeah.
At least. At least 10 years. And so it's good to see that one of them's gonna keep trying it out at the next level. And I always loved watching him run, so hopefully we can catch a glimpse of him there with the Cohawks.
Yep, for sure.
All right, so let's dive into some of the stuff related here to the 2021 season, the upcoming season. First item here is that Luke Pasibio has been named the new head coach of the Fresh Soft team. He takes over for Matt Hills, who took a new role as Director of Football Operations. So congratulations to Matt Hills there on taking that. I know he's always been pretty interested in that type of stuff, so I think he'll do a really good job at that, and I think he'll be a good position, or good position to have within the program too. But whatever that actually entails, I know that Matt will do a really good job.
Oh yeah,
that, for sure.
Yeah, that's exciting for him. I mean, at the college level, some of that director of football ops, there's a lot of traveling and coordinating a lot of other stuff. So, there's a lot of other organizational things that go in besides just X's and O's and figuring out who your starting quarterback and starting left guard are. So, it'll be one of those that just helps the program in a different way. So, excited to see that from Matt.
Yeah, for sure. And excited to see Luke Pasibio step up into the head coach role. He's been doing, I think, helping out with defense. Yeah, defensive coordinator for the past 2-3 years now.
2 years, I think the last 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and just a little bit of background on him. He grew up in Iowa City. Went to Iowa City High there. And started on the staff in 2018. And so and he's a fourth grade teacher.
7th grade now.
7th grade, excuse me. Yeah,
that's right. He's been the one that has lucked out because there's one of the grades, I think it's the current 5th grade class, that is a really small class. So they usually only have 2 sections.
Okay.
So I think he was there with them in 4th grade, or right before they were there. So the year ahead of them, he was in 4th grade. Then he moved up to 5th grade because they wouldn't need that extra section. And then when that class moved to 5th grade this year, he moved up to 7th grade. So he's been doing some junior high stuff. I only know that because my oldest daughter is the year that's had him a couple of years. So he's a good teacher, a lot of fun. My daughter Riley really enjoys him. He's real good with the kids at that age group, but then also, seeing him out on the football field as well. Phenomenal teacher, phenomenal coach, knows his stuff. Speaking of that West Branch Southwest, he played basketball down at Central College as well. So a little bit of a connection there at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned, just being good with the kids. And I think that's an important quality to have as the Fresh Soft head coach, just with those freshmen and sophomores that are coming in, and especially the freshmen I remember when I played freshman football, I was just overwhelmed because everything was brand new, new school, teammates who you really hadn't, older teammates who you hadn't really played with much at all in the past, and kind of that maturity difference between a freshman and a senior, both in mental maturity as well as physical maturity, is it's a huge gap a lot of the time. And so, yeah, coming just having a coach there and a leader coming in that's really good with those kids to kind of help them through that transition and to get their feet wet and get them on solid ground is super important to have.
Yeah. Well, and I'll be interested whenever we get to media day. Hopefully, a little bit more expanded because things are a little bit clearer for us because of the COVID things. But I'll be interested to talk to him and kind of have him dive a little deeper into that because I know that Matt Hill's stressed it a lot, and it's really kind of the role that the Fresh Soft team has is just getting more of those fundamentals. And they're taught those starting with the Red Buffaloes in 5th and 6th grade, and then you get to the junior high level, and I know that the coaches there work on just a little bit more. But again, it's not necessarily that the Fresh Soft team is out there to go undefeated and win a Fresh Soft district title. Their goal is to develop as football players so that if they get called upon at the varsity level or when they move up to become juniors or seniors, they're ready to go. So be interested to talk to him a little bit as this summer wears on and kind of see his philosophy, if there's anything. I'm sure there's a lot of similarities, if there's any differences in terms of how to get them ready to go when it's time to step out on that field.
And speaking of leaders, the team captains for the 2021 season have been selected. There are quite a few of them actually, and just with the small senior class that is coming into the 2021 season, I think it just made sense to make all of those seniors captains, have their seniority be that leadership role with all of them, and I know they're all capable of that. So that's Cole Bailey, Drake Berry, Seth Franzoni, Gavin Hills, Brady Hunger, Peyton Miller, and Cash Woody. So congratulations to those seven, and we look forward to you being in that leadership role and help guiding this team.
Yeah, that's a big honor too. I mean, those are things that as soon as that's voted on, their work started basically the 1st of November. And okay, what are we doing to make sure that guys are getting their noses in the playbook and understanding things? What are we doing to make sure that they're heading to the weight room and getting things done? What are they doing to encourage participation in other sports? Because multi-sport athletes have so much more success. So what can they do to get them out for basketball or wrestling, on the track team, out for soccer, just things so that you're hanging out with your friends, you're doing more, you're just staying active, getting exposed to a variety of things. So a lot of that is on those captains. I know that they've always had great captains practices over the summer as well, where they work on those things. And again, hopefully some of these COVID concerns are starting to ease so that makes it a little bit easier for them to do a lot more of these things in this off season.
This is one of those roles, as you mentioned. It's quite an honor to receive. This is the most captains the team has ever had, to my knowledge. Typically it's 4 or 5. So having 7 of them, it actually can be kind of nice, just because, as you mentioned, part of their role is keeping everybody in check, uh, getting everybody into the weight room to captain's practices, staying out of trouble, doing well in the classroom, all that kind of thing. So really, the more vocal leaders that are in that position can really only benefit.
Well, and it's a good way too. I mean, it's an extension of the coaching staff, but it's also, I mean, you know what it's like when you're a teenager, and if you've got this quote unquote old guy telling you to do something, yeah, whatever, coach, yeah, I'll do it. Well, if you have one of your buddies saying, hey, let's get this done, that peer pressure can work in a positive way too. It's not just taking it to the places where you shouldn't be. Peer pressure can take you to the places you should be too.
All right. So over the last about 2 months or so, the Iowa High School Athletic Association has made some announcements and kind of started spinning the wheels, gearing up for the 2021 season. And one of the first things that they had announced, as it pertains to that here back in January, well, there are a couple things they announced, but as it pertains to West Branch. they announced that for classes A, 1A, and 2A, the teams in those classes will now have an 8-game regular season schedule, which is down from the traditional 9 games that I've only known for as long as I can remember. Um, and as a kind of in a correlation and a related move to that, the state has expanded the playoff field from 16 teams to 32 teams. And so, really the reason why those are somewhat correlated together is that, for a few seasons there, when there was the 9-game schedule with still the 32 playoff teams, you'd have, shorter times between playoff games. So you'd go a Friday, a Wednesday, a Monday, and that type of schedule to be able to fit the full playoff schedule, the 9 games, the full playoff schedule, and have that championship game done by the time Thanksgiving rolls around. And a few years ago, the state decided to really nix that whole Friday, Wednesday, Monday type of thing, just because of making sure these players get rest. Just because it's a football game, you can't. It's hard to play more than one in a 1 week time period. So they decided to nix that and make sure that all of these games are on a Friday or Saturday type of thing. So in order to now for the state to be able to have those 32 playoff teams and still get everything done, start that last week of August and get everything done by Thanksgiving, the one thing they had to give up was that 9th regular season game. So yeah, what are your thoughts here on, this whole change, the 8-game schedule going back to the 32 playoff teams? I know last season we had everybody in the playoffs, so it's quite the stark contrast between the 16 teams that we've had the past few seasons before that.
I kind of like some of the way that they did it. I actually kind of like. I mean, I know that there's been talk of how can we expand the playoffs, and I think the high school coaches were talking about what if we looked at some sort of a 24-game schedule, a 24-team playoff. But then you run into some of the issues like we saw last year of, well, who gets a first round bye? What impact does that first round bye have on things? And, what happens when you have 3 teams in one district that tie, who gets the coin flip, and things of that nature. And then at the same time, you look at the concern of, you were playing 14 games in basically just over 2.5, almost 3 months. So that's a lot of football for these kids. So what's the best way that you can do that? So I think going back to the 8-game regular season, adding that extra round of the playoffs is good. And the one little caveat that you didn't mention in there that I think plays into it is the fact that if you are one of the teams that does not make the playoffs, you can still schedule a Week 9 game against another non-playoff team. So let's just use West Branch as an example. Say we don't make the playoffs after this season, and let's say that Dyersville-Beckman also fails to make the playoffs after this season. Now, I'm not saying that's likely because both of those teams are storied programs, but just thinking of 2 schools in the area, we could contact Dyersville-Beckman and say, hey, we really want another game for our kids. The Beckman would say, sure, that works for us. So then we could still get a 9th game in and have a full regular season. So, and then on the flip side, you do have 32 teams that get into the playoffs. So those 32 teams are already getting a 9th game. And then that narrows it down. You've got your 16 teams into the playoffs starting in Week 10, basically. So I think it's a good compromise of expanding it, but also taking into account player safety and also finding an opportunity for teams that don't make the playoffs to be able to get that extra game thrown in there at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thanks for mentioning that last bit because it's effectively everybody can have a 9-game season. You just might not know who that 9th team is until a week before the game, but that's all right. But yeah, like you said, I think these are good. These are good compromises that the state has made. I'm not sure how else they could have done it, to be honest, other than maybe starting the season a week earlier. But again, then that's one less week to prepare and for these kids to get hopefully in game shape and learn the playbook and all that kind of stuff too. So that's hard to take away that week as well. So yeah, like you said, I think this is a good compromise here.
It is also, I mean, you look at the fact that we have so many multi-sport athletes, so it makes it a little bit easier for these guys to move on into basketball or wrestling season. You're not extending that season a week longer and adding that extra wear and tear onto them. So, I think that's another consideration that they took into. The one thing that, I was thinking about, well, what happens if West Branch doesn't make the playoffs and the closest team to us is, Appella Christian, or,
Right.
what happens if that week 9 game we have to drive to Osage again?
Right.
I know that, it might be beneficial for the players, but, there's some other considerations. So
that's tough.
Hopefully the way the districts shake out, you'll have some teams that are relatively close that could make that week 9 matchup come together. Or you may have, because I'm sure you could do, say for instance, West Branch and West Liberty don't make the playoffs, and we haven't played in our non-district schedule. We could theoretically schedule them as well. So I don't think there's restrictions that it has to be within your class. I think if you find a class of bigger or smaller, you could go match up as well. But it's just one of those little things that I think could be interesting to see once it gets into practice. I know that the theory is phenomenal, but seeing it in practice will be curious too. So
the other announcement that the state made at that same time was that they're adding an additional classification, and that's Class 5A. So now state of Iowa has expanded to Class 5A, at least for football. And the state did that just because there was a really a growing disparity within the enrollment sizes and the I guess you could say talent level and that type however you want to spin it at the Class 4A level. So the state decided to add this 5A level classification and put a lot of those large Class 4A schools up into Class 5A, so they can compete up there. And so kind of the downfall of that is that every other class, 4A down through A player, is a little bit smaller. So in the case of Class 1A, that the size of that class has gone from 54, 56, I think it was.
I think it was 56, yeah.
Yeah, 56 to 48 for the 2021 and I think the 2022 season as well.
Yeah, I think this is a 2-year schedule again. Last year they did just the 1 year.
Yeah, it's interesting to see that. And kind of the thinning out of all the other classes too.
I was just going to say it's interesting because you do have some of those smaller 4A schools that say you've got a Western Dubuque, if they're into that 4A range, taking on an Ankeny or a West Des Moines, and it's hard. It would be kind of like us as a small 1A school taking on a Solon as a big 3A school. You're not going to back down from that challenge, but you just have so many more students to be able to pull from that you can create more depth, you can find different talent, and
it's just not a fair matchup.
Yeah.
So I'm glad the state did something. I know they've been there have been a lot of things that they've tried over the past couple of years to try and help that situation. But now they've decided to just go ahead and take the plunge and add that Class 5A. So and then just FYI, it doesn't really pertain to West Branch, but classes 5A, 4A, and 3A will continue to have a 9-game regular season schedule and their 16 playoff qualifiers. So a little bit of difference here between the larger classes and the smaller classes here.
That works though.
Yeah. All right. So on top of that, kind of the bigger news that just happened here, we're recording this on a Sunday, but just a couple days ago on Friday morning, the state announced the classifications and districts for the 2021 and 2022 seasons. So this was kind of usually the big every other year off-season news of along with the schedules, but knowing knowing what class you're going to be in. And then who your district, who you're going to be matched up with in your district, which is going to be, in this case, it's going to determine 5 of West Branch's 8 regular season games. So West Branch will remain in Class 1A, and from what I understand, they are one of, if not the smallest team in Class 1A in terms of the beds count, which is what the state uses to determine who goes in what class and all that. And then they'll be in District 5, which I believe we were in the last season as well. And so in our district, returning from the last year, be Durant and Wilton. And then we'll also have Louisa and Muscatine, otherwise known as L&M. Mediapolis, who the Bears played in the playoffs last season, and Iowa City, Regina. So just that 8-9 miles between us, and we gotta get to renew that rivalry in a different way. So yeah, these will be the districts for the next 2 seasons. The schedules have yet to actually be announced. So what every team is doing now, and I think they have about a week or so to do this, is to put together their list of teams that they would, effectively like to or would be willing to play for their non-district slate, which will likely be the first 3 games of the season. So once all the teams in the state have submitted those, the state can then start putting together schedules and release those. But yeah, first, Stephen, let's talk about, just real briefly, let's talk about these teams in our district, just to kind of get a sense of where they were at in 2020 and maybe what they're at least on paper going to be looking like coming into the 2021 season. And yeah, let's just go alphabetical. Let's start with Durant.
Durant, 4-3 last year. They were right there fighting for the district title with us. They just came up a little bit short. I mean, we had a barn burner with them, scored late to win. They were close with Cascade and Beckman as well. Nolan DeLong. That's really all you need to know.
Don't say that.
Not really all you need to know, because they've got a good program going, but Nolan DeLong, phenomenal running back, phenomenal linebacker, and he kind of helps that team go. So seeing a lot of seniors that have left there, graduated and whatnot, but still, it's not the Durant from back in the day. I mean, it used to be Durant was one of those, okay, let's get the win, let's move on. They have gotten better down there, and so it's going to be a good one. That's going to be fun to see how they shake out.
Yeah, I always like playing them because, no matter what state both of our programs are in terms of win-loss and talent and all that kind of stuff, it's always a challenging game.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those old Eastern Iowa Hawkeye Conference type things where, I grew up in every sport always playing Durant. And they were always a good challenge. But yeah, you mentioned some seniors graduating, the quarterback Keegan Head and leading receiver Aiden Flockhart. They'll both be gone. But yeah, as you mentioned, they'll still have Nolan DeLong, who will only be a junior this upcoming season, which sucks. But yeah, he's running back at nearly 1,600 yards in the 2020 season, 11.5 yards per carry. And he was by far their leading tackler as well from his linebacker position, as you mentioned. So, yeah, they're going to be a good contender for this district as well. It'll be interesting to see what underclassmen kind of come up and I mean, obviously the attrition stuff happens every year for every team, but
right.
For them it's going to be interesting to see where things go.
Yep.
Yeah, next on our list, Louisa Muscatine. They were 1-6 in 2020 and lost in the first round of the playoffs. And since at least 2004, which is what I have the schedules back to, West Branch and L&M have not played, from what I can see.
They were in the district when I played back in
the
late 90s when we were in 2A. But yeah, aside from that, I don't know a whole lot about them. Their school's kind of hard to get to. It's just kind of out there a ways, right on the county line. But yeah, aside from that, it'll be interesting. This is gonna be a fun thing. You get some of these other teams that you get exposed to. So I'm curious to see how this shakes out. I did just a real quick look. It looked like their quarterback and their leading receiver were both sophomores last year. So they're going to have some of these guys coming back. It'll just be fun to see, how do they respond and come with this new district. And aside from that, I really don't know a whole lot about them. But yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to learning more about them, and yeah, as you said, just kind of getting some fresh a fresh team to play, somebody that's new, a new location to play at, new names to learn, kind of a new team style to learn, all that type of stuff. So I'm glad to have a little bit of uh, a lesser known team in our district this year. Mentioned Mediapolis earlier. They're going to be in our district this season. So, yeah, 5-2 in 2020. Won their first round playoff game, of course, beat West Branch in the second round of the playoffs at the Little Rose Bowl. And then lost in the third round of the playoffs to Columbus Catholic. Their senior quarterback, Regan Thornburg, will be graduating this spring. So, unknown at this point who will take his place. And also their leading receiver Logan Ty is also a senior, so he'll be graduating too. So Gone will be their quarterback and their leading receiver. So much like Durant in that case, and again much like Durant in this case, the team's leading rusher will only be a junior this
Yeah.
coming season, and that's Anthony Isley, who ran for a little over 1,000 yards in 2020. So, Stephen, I think this is definitely one of those teams that's going to, if they can, fill that quarterback and leading receiver position well, this is going to be one of those teams that's going to definitely contend for the district.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I mean, it's another one of those programs that is just historically good. I mean, you look back through their history. I mean, they made the state finals several years ago. They're just always a playoff team. They know how to do it. They've got great facilities. I'm actually looking forward to going down there. They've got the nice field turf, kind of like the Solon Field was. That's going to be exciting. But yeah, they're a proud program. They know how to do it. They do it right. And, I'm sure we would love to get down there and be able to change things from how that playoff game went. But obviously, it's going to be a completely different team. But yeah, Isley, phenomenal running back. Cole Lipper, another guy that I remember from their team last year. He played a little tight end, but more so outside linebacker. And 215-pound outside linebacker is just a beast. So that'll be a good one. That's going to be a lot of fun. I know that they played Regina in the playoffs a couple of years ago too. So you get those three teams. That'll be some interesting matchups between those three teams. And then you throw in Durant and L&M as well that, oh, hey, just overlook us because we'll come in and figure out how to take care of business too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and speaking of Regina, yeah, as I mentioned, they're in the district too, and they're the 6-1 in the 2020 regular season, and of course won all of their playoffs games and were the Class A state champions. They had dipped down to Class 1A or Class A just for this past season, but now with kind of the shuffling of the sizes of the classes and that type of stuff, they're back up to 1A now. And they have some work to do this offseason. They're all of their tops, basically their top four skill players, will be graduating this spring. Quarterback Ashton Cook, running back Theo Coley, wide receiver and kicker Alec Wick, and then wide receiver Levi Quinlan as well. So, I mean, I have no doubt they're going to find replacements for that, but it's just again, every team deals with this off season and this graduation type of stuff, and really how you kind of develop players up starting in middle school and the JV level, and this is their opportunity now to step in and get more playing time and really just make things seem like nobody left, and keep moving. So yeah, interesting off season for Regina. Just yeah, trying to replace those guys, but I have no doubt that they will. And of course, you have to put them up there for contention to win the district.
Yeah, I mean it's the old cliche: we don't rebuild, we reload, and
Exactly.
That's you again. No matter what you feel, you got to tip your cap to Coach Marv Cook and the staff over there because they know how to train the students, they know how to get the most out of them, and they know how to find the ways to put them in the right positions. And, that is very key. You can have a guy that, well, I've played quarterback my whole life. Well, we're going to need you to move to wide receiver. Trey Eagle, you find a way to do that. You do what's best for the team. You're unselfish. And so, they're going to find ways to do that. And as we know, it's always a knockdown drag out. It's going to be some epic battles here over the next couple of years, hopefully for the district championship. But again, I think all 5 of these teams have a legitimate shot of saying, we're going to be contending here in this district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And then the last team, Wilton. Yeah, West Branch had in their district last season. They were 2-5 in the 2020 regular season. I think their talent was there. They just couldn't quite get things going, really at any point throughout the season there. When we went there, middle of September, week 4 or 5, it was week 4, I think it was. We ended up being not a competitive game, which was a little bit of a surprise to us, I know, on the Bearcast. But they're going to have some work again to do this off season, much like Regina is. The Sawville brothers, they'll be graduating this spring, and so they're going to need to figure out a new quarterback and leading receiver there. Their leading rusher was Sawville, but behind him was junior Jackson Hall. So Jackson Hall will be coming back this season as a senior. And their leading tackler is also graduating in Cale Brisker. So they've be interesting to see what they've got coming up in the ranks as well.
Yeah, and I think they were, they've kind of been hit by the injury bug the last couple of years. And so, you get into the Class 1A ranks especially, and that goes back to that depth that we talk about. And when you only have 175, 200 kids that you're pulling from, there's not as many kids that you can tap into and say, we really need you out for the team because, we need some help. And that's one of the challenges at this level is figuring out how to maximize the players that you do have out there and overcome some of those lack of depth things. And, again, that's one of those things that it's always fun because some of these teams, I don't pay close enough attention, but, maybe they've got a 8th grade class that's just super athletic and they're going to come in and set the world on fire as freshmen. And, that's the other fun part of this is seeing how do these other teams get some of these young guys in and build them up. And so, again, Wilton's one of those programs that, at times they've been down, but historically they've been a good team. And so, that they're going to do everything in their power to put that work in and, be able to come back and say, hey, we're also sitting right here. We're not a team to be forgot about. We're going to be challenging for this district title.
Yeah, for sure. And, don't want to leave out West Branch in this conversation too, because they had a large senior class that's graduating and, a handful of very important key players that will no longer be on the team. Jeff Bowie, Cale Federlin, Morgan Hartz, Gavin Hirschman, Simon Palmer. He was huge coming on as in his wide receiver and tight end role last season, one of Gavin's favorite targets. Caleb Sexton would be missing that spark that we had. And, Trey Schutte, a reliable center that snaps the ball really well every single time. That is huge, as you know, Steven.
Yeah.
That is a huge asset to the team. And so, not to mention, Jack Buell and the contributions of the other seniors that West Branch will be losing and not having this 2021 season. So, I don't want to go through all the other teams in the districts and say, oh, well, they're losing these guys. How's it going to work out? Because West Branch has that same problem too,
yep.
To a pretty large degree.
Yeah. Again, that goes back to how is it developed at that fresh soft level? How are these kids getting developed as they work through the junior levels? And then how do they respond when it is their turn? You can think back over the years, there's stories of guys that maybe didn't see the field a whole lot when they were freshmen and sophomore, even at the fresh soft level. And then, when it was their time, they get called upon as a junior or a senior, and suddenly it started to click for them a little bit. They've matured a little bit more. They've figured out how to make things happen, and they become solid contributors. So who's that guy going to be? Is there one of those senior captains that maybe we haven't seen a lot of on the field? Is there, a guy that's a sophomore this current season that's going to be a junior next year? Is there another freshman that's going to come along and say, you know what, here's what we're doing, guys. I'm going to work my butt off, and I'm going to make this varsity roster and make the starting lineup. And, you know, we've got those holes to fill, but again, I think we've got things in place that these guys know the work that it's going to take in the off season. If they're not doing it yet, they should be, because they should have been doing it back in November, and make things happen once we get into things the 1st of August.
So that is your Class 1A District 5 teams: Durant, Louisa, Muscatine, Mediapolis, Regina, West Branch, and Wilton. So as I mentioned, we don't quite know the full 2021 and 2022 schedules yet. We know 5 of the teams that are going to be on the schedule, the Bears schedules. We will know those 3 other teams come sometime the middle to late of next month is what I've been told as far as when the state is planning to have the schedules out. I don't know if they want that information out there, but that's right. That's what I was told from somebody who probably knows. And so we'll look forward to that. Getting that full schedule out and knowing who those 3 non-district opponents will be. I know I talked with Coach Peterson a little bit about them on Friday. Just kind of some of the things that he and activities director Jake Stenberg were thinking about putting on there. So yeah, it's going to be a tough schedule, even just with these 5 teams, but throwing in some of the teams that could be on the non-district slate will not make it any easier. I'll just say that. So looking forward to that. So yeah, that's all we know so far about the 2021 season. Yeah, Stephen, you alluded to it a couple times that just we kind of get the sense that things are feeling a little bit better now with the pandemic and that type of stuff. Vaccine rollout seems to be going really well. I've had my first one, and so I'll be fully vaccinated here pretty soon. So I'll feel good about that, and so hopefully um, everyone else is as well. I think it's pretty important to get that and keep not only yourself safe but everybody else safe. And it's just a quicker way for us to get back to normal life. And you know, doing this high school football season, I think we were lucky to get through it in 2020. Just as a state, I think as a whole did pretty well. I mean, there were some teams here and there that had to cancel a few games, one or a few games. And thankfully, we were only bit by that once. Hopefully, we can not have to worry about that. This upcoming season, and I'm also getting married at this season too. So I'm kind of hoping that, for that sake as well, that I can have that without kind of the COVID stuff kind of looming overhead and making it a little bit of a concern as to if we can safely celebrate and that type of thing. So fingers crossed, and yeah, I think we're looking pretty good for coming around August and September and October, but need to really stay vigilant and all of that.
Amen. Not much else to add to that.
All right, perfect. Sorry.
No, you're good.
All right, so the last thing that we want to talk about here before we wrap up is trivia night. So that's coming up here in April, on April 17th, and it's going to take place out at Little Lights on the Lane, which is out at Cedars Edge Golf Course. It's the somewhat new event center out there. When I was looking for wedding venues, my fiance and we looked at there, and that was the first time I had been there. And what a beautiful place! Amazing. Really, what they've done out there is nothing short of incredible. Just how they've improved that whole area out there. It's beautiful, and the event center is great. What's really nice is that it's a really nice big open area, and so everybody can kind of spread out, be somewhat comfortable. Obviously, wearing a mask will be encouraged, and keeping distance where necessary will be encouraged. But it'll be nice to just kind of be able to get back together and do this event again after having to do it online this past year. So registration is open now. You can go to westbranch.football, and there's a news post right there on the homepage talking about trivia night, and a link to be able to get your team registered. There can be teams of 6 or 8, and so you can get your team registered now. And you'll have through, I think, about just a couple days before the event, which is on April 17th, to get your team registered. So be sure to do that, because I know those things fill up pretty quickly. And The event organizers are, of course, also looking for sponsors for this year, and the event. And I mean, this is a fundraiser, and so all of the team dues to play, and also the sponsorships we get go directly into the program to be able to fund all the things that the program needs throughout the season. And so if you're obviously interested in playing, get registered. If you're also interested in sponsoring, that information is also available on westbranch.football. Steven, are you planning to play?
I'm still looking at the schedule. I'm trying to figure out. I know the Lions are looking at a team. We'll see how that shakes out if everybody fills in. Otherwise, I may just offer my services to walk around and make sure that Jason's not cheating again. I mean, wait, did I say that out loud? I'm just kidding.
Well, we need to have a dedicated person for that.
I know.
Yeah. So we'd really appreciate your services there. Yep.
But that's a fun night. I mean, I've played in it before. I've helped out with it. I mean, it's a great night. It'll be fun at the new place. I mean, the Brick Arch Winery was a lot of fun, but having everybody down on one level, a little bit bigger space, that'll be fun to see too. So a couple of great places in town to have these things.
Yeah, Brick Arch was really great. I think just the event has gotten so popular now that we just, plain as day, just need a bigger space. And that's really nice that we're able to go out to Little Lights on the Lane and do that for sure. So thank you to them for offering that space for us. That is all we have for this kind of special off-season episode of the Talking Bear Football Podcast. We've talked about a lot. We'll probably be back. Not sure if we'll have an episode to talk through the schedule. For sure we'll.
I'm
be
sure
back.
we will.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
We'll be chomping at the bit as soon as we get there and say, we better get something.
Yep. But at minimum, you'll hear from us for sure in August, or at the latest, you'll hear from us probably in the middle of August or so, right after Media Day. That's going to wrap it up for us. Steven, let our listeners know, if they didn't already know, how they can stay connected to West Branch Football.
Social media. We're on Twitter at WB Bears Football. On Instagram at WB Bears Football. Go to Facebook, search West Branch Football, like the page, get notifications, because all the info gets put up there as well. So those are the three main ones. You haven't got it. There's like 4 or 5 others that are starting to come around. So, I mean, are you looking at getting all those?
Interested in them. No, not going to do any Clubhouse stuff, or I don't think Snapchat's really appropriate. I don't even know whatever else is out there.
Yeah, I don't know either. I lose track after a while.
TikTok. I'm not sure we have good content for TikTok.
Yeah. I don't know. Whatever the kids like, but yeah. Right. We're going to stick with the basics for now. So,
yep.
If this is your first time listening to the Talking Bear Football Podcast, make sure that you go and subscribe, click like, follow it. We're on Apple Podcasts. You can go into Spotify, whatever podcast player you like. Go search us, like it, follow it. Make sure you get notifications whenever we get a show put out. Once we get into the season, we're normally doing a couple per week. We kind of wrap things up and look at the next one. So be listening and looking ahead. We try to do a couple in the off season just to keep you updated as well. But go follow along.
Yeah. And as Steven mentioned, subscribe to the show. That's totally free to do. Podcasts are free. Traditional podcasts, that is, unless you're Spotify, and yeah, not going to get into that. But subscribe to the show. Really, the benefits is the episodes come to you. You don't have to go seek them out, and you get to listen to them in a good podcast player on your phone or tablet or whatever you're listening on. So yeah, that's going to do it for us here in episode 96 of the Talking Bear Football Podcast.
Right here on westbranch.football.
Take care, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Didn't really work out for you to say those two things back to back, did it?